Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel CCUK Resin, and this is going to be an interesting piece, hopefully. So, Loula from Nerd Goblin Art is doing a Van Gogh collaboration, and I thought, what can I do? I saw this picture frame in a charity shop in the UK, and I fell in love with it, just because I love wood, and it looks like solid wood. I'm hoping it's not veneer. But the plan is here to incorporate Van Gogh's Starry Night into the wood frame and then recreate that Starry Night effect, hopefully, in resin. So we're going to see if it works. And there's a couple of standout pieces for me. I think it's his swirls that make his artwork quite unique. And I've just got a metallic pen because I am going to carve this. Now, it's going to be interesting because the plan is here to carve the wood with some of these designs. And it's all about that swirl for me with Van Gogh. And his moon is pretty unique, so I'm going to look at that as well. But then I want to build up the actual picture in layers. So I'm just going to try and position where I want certain elements of this on the frame. And there is that crescent, which is a little bit like that. It's not perfect. It doesn't have to be at this point. I love that, and I love the way that the swirls kind of here. Now, I am going to take a bit of artistic license here and not do it exactly the same, but just bring the swirl around here and try and get it looking a little bit like Van Gogh's swirl. I'm pretty happy with that. And then I'm going to bring it down, and we're just going to have fun with this, guys. When it's art, it's your art. And this is just giving me a general idea of the way that I want it to look. Because as I say, we're going to try carving this. And I want another swirl coming up from the base, I think, and in and almost around, I think, here. And as I say, I'm just using this metallic marker just to give me a bit of a guide about how it's going to look. I'm going to use quite a lot of this frame here. And let's bring this out a little bit. And then it's all going to be about my carving, really, and whether I can get... I think that's enough. Now, let's have a couple of these little stars as well. So just a star. And then there's a circular pattern going around like this. And let's have a star here. Now, I don't want it to be too much, but I do want it to hopefully give me a bit of that design in the actual wood itself. So as you can see, this is just giving me a bit of a template as to what I want to carve. Now, luckily, it's reasonably dry at the minute in the UK. So I'm going to go outside. We're going to carve this design in. We're going to sand off that varnish that's there. Then we're going to get to the fun part, which is the resin part. So don't forget, though, to watch all of the videos in this collaboration. Some great artists getting involved, guys. And don't be afraid to change your design as you go. And I'm just looking here, and that swirl, for me, I don't want it to take up too much. I want it to kind of go like that. And we'll just see how we get on. And I think the beauty of Van Gogh's works is it's almost little strokes that create the overall design. So let's go carve, let's have fun, then we get onto the resin bit. I need to make sure this is going to be reasonably flat as well when I do that. So let's dismantle it. I'm just going to mark this as well so I know which way around it goes. Nothing worse than finishing a piece and not being able to figure out how to put it back together. And I've got to remember that is the way it's going to stand. So I'm hoping that's right. That's good. And I'm just going to take all of this insert out as well because we don't need it. And then we're left with the wood. So going to go in outside now. We're going to get this carved, at least to resemble Van Gogh. And then we're going to come back and do the resin piece. So it should be fun, guys. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to seal that glass in there with UV resin. So I know it's not going to go leak anywhere. And then I've got enough, I think, to get 4 or 5 layers on the inside of that glass to build this up. So I'll see you guys in a sec. So here we go, guys, outside in the carving shed. Don't forget your respirator. Don't forget your ear protection. I'm just going to go for this. I'm going to free flow it in, try and get some of these designs in the way that I want. Now, this nib that I've got on here is a bit too aggressive, I think, for this, because we're only doing a picture frame. So I'm going to get that image up on my phone. I'm going to have to cut that out because I just had Loula messaging me. Just as a reference, because it's good to have a reference of what you're roughly wanting before you actually start the carve. So I'm going to keep that at the side, get my earpods in, get my respirator on, and then off we go. So I hope you enjoy. So here we go, guys, and I'm pretty happy with the way that's looking right now. It's the way that I wanted it. I wanted it to look rustic. I wanted it to not look new, and hopefully the art piece in the center is going to really pop in this frame. The whole thing is going to be covered in resin at the end. But now we're getting on to the fun part, which is going to be, that works, it fits. First thing I need to do is secure this glass to the frame. And I'm going to try just with UV resin and see what happens. Before I get shouted at, I best get my gloves on. And then the idea is going to be to build up layers to actually look a little bit like Van Gogh's Starry Night. Now, whether it's going to work or not, I don't know. But do me a favor, this is already 3 hours in. So do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. And if you like this kind of content, consider joining membership. That way you get early access to all of my videos. And this is just at this point, I want to secure that glass in there so it's not going to go anywhere whilst I build up this frame. So I've just got some UV resin. I'm going to be using the Apex UV resin, and this is just on this side, a very thin layer to just secure it, hopefully, in this frame, because I don't want it moving. And this is a slightly looser fit. So now I'm just going to drop that in. So squeeze it down a little bit, and then get my UV torch. And hopefully that will secure that glass into the frame. Then we can turn it around and think about building up these layers. And it's only 4 mil, so I've got to be a little bit careful in what I do and how I build this up. But I want to make sure it's secure so it's not going to move anywhere. And this was just a thought that went through my head when I heard about the Van Gogh collaboration. And I thought, let's give it a go. It's either going to work or it isn't. So hopefully that is now secure. And then the idea is here, I'm going to build this up layer by layer. And I'm not going to use UV resin. I'm going to use normal, which is going to take longer, but I think I'm going to get a better effect. So I need to look at my reference image again, start thinking about what colors I'm going to use in this Van Gogh piece. And I'm hoping that I've got enough there to get maybe 4 layers in, which is what I think I'm going to need. So I'm going to get my phone now and get a reference image back up of Van Gogh's Starry Night. And I'm not, or Van Gogh, depends on what you want to call him. I'm not an artist, but again, I'm hoping I can recreate something that resembles that Van Gogh Starry Night, and it's gone now, so I need to research for the image. Van Gogh Starry Night. And don't forget, guys, whilst you're here as well, watch everybody's video in this collaboration. So here we go. That's a rough general image. Gonna have that there. It's off Alibaba's picked it up, but it's the same sort of image. And it's the same sort of style I want. So it is quite a dark background, guys. So I'm going to mix up 2 colors, black, and I'm going to mix up a dark blue and a black for that first layer. Now, I'm not going to need a lot, and I am going to use fast cure resin because this is going to need at least, I think, 4 layers. I think we can get away with 4. But I'm also going to play around with the resin by leaving it for a certain amount of time before I come back and put in, hopefully, a bit of that Starry Night design. So the first layer, I think, for the base layer, I just want a really dark bluey black. So I'm going to get 2 little pots. And I don't think I'm going to need a lot of resin, guys. Look at the size of these. And I'm going to get a tiny bit of resin. Now, I could probably do this in UV, but I think it's going to be too dark. So I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try, I think, some of the Apex Quantum fast resin, because that is touch dry in 1 to 2 hours, which will be perfect for this project because it means hopefully within a few hours, I can put the next layer on and we can keep going. And what I'm going to do is leave it for half an hour and then come back and try and put some of those designs in. So the first bit should be dead straightforward. I'm just going to mix. I think I'm going to probably need a full one of these. And it is a thick resin, guys. There's no getting around it. So this is the hardener, but I want this to be quite thin still. So I'm going to try and do just 20 mil to start me off. So that is 10. I'm not used to measuring such small quantities, guys. So that's 10 of the part B, sorry, the hardener. And now I need 10 mil of this part A, which is the resin. And this is really thick, guys. So again, but I don't need a lot, I don't think. So we should be okay. So that is just 20 mil of resin. And as I say, I want this to have a, wipe that off as well. I've just spilled some. I don't want this to go wrong. Not after I put all of that time into the frame. So I'm just going to use a wipe off that excess off there for now. That gives me an idea of what colour the frame is going to look like as well. I think it's going to be really cool, guys. So now this is a tiny pot. So I need a little stirrer, mix it around like I normally would. And this is just going to be for that first layer. And I'm thinking 20 mil should be enough to cover the whole thing. But I am still going to separate this because I want some black and some blue for this first dark layer. Here we go. I'm just mixing it around. It is going to be thick, guys. You've got to realise that, but that's okay. So I want a little touch in here, which is going to be about half and half, I think. There we go. And I'm going to use a really dark metallic blue and a black for this first layer. I'm not used to working on such a small scale, guys. But we're going to see, because I don't want this particularly to move too much either, which is going to be the interesting thing with this. So I'm looking for my metallic blue, which is deep and dark. And I just want a little bit on the end of my stick to colour this. And I want that to be the main colour, although I am going to be swishing in a little bit of black as well. Here we go. And I've never done this before. This is just an idea that popped in my head. And I thought, well, there's only one way to find out, and that is to do it. So I want this base layer first, which is going to be the black. I'm just going to use some black pigment paste. And then I'm going to try and spread that as thinly as I can to try and cover most of it. And then I'm going to intermix them a little bit. And then I'm going to leave it. And then we're going to come back in, I think about half an hour, which is when the resin should have probably stopped moving, just to put in some of those brighter colours, which is going to be the yellows and the orange and the white. So here we go. This is that black. Look at that. Beautiful. And now I'm going to pour some of this straight onto the glass and then try and thinly mix it around. But I don't want a thick layer. So whatever's in this pot is all I'm going to be using of this. And I'm just going to spread it around. And these cups are not my favourites, so I'm not going to be using these again. They've got little ridges in them, which I don't like because it actually stops your resin coming out. So as you can see, I'm not being particularly careful here because the resin itself will self-level once it's in there. I'm not going to be using these cups again, guys. Don't get them. They've got the inners on and they're an absolute pain. Be better off with my espresso cups. So that was a waste of £5 from Temu. Here we go. Now, as I say, I want this really thinly spread and intermixed. And what I'm probably going to do is just use my finger and just spread it around. So we get this black going almost all the way to the edge of the glass. And I'm going to use a tool in a minute, once I've spread this out, just to get it a little bit closer to the edge as well. But it will self-level. Here we go. Just want to get it as close as I can for now. And then don't forget, I've still got that blue, what's going to go on here. Wipe my finger and then look for a tool to help me. There we go. That should do. So again, I'm just going to really move this now into those edges so that I know, essentially, it's also going to help me feel more confident that this is all sealed up. Again, just going into those edges, making sure I'm covering them all and any gaps with this first black layer, and then it should self-level itself anyway. And don't forget, we're still going to be adding that blue in there. I don't want it to be just black. Here we go. But this is going to cover that glass nicely. into all the edges. So I know that this black is going to be that beautiful black glossy base for this whole piece. In we go. And don't forget, your resin will shrink a little bit as it cures as well, guys. So you do want to get it right up to those edges, and then it will retract, it will do its thing. But that's okay. So this is how thin a layer I'm trying to get, guys. Not thick, just a nice thin layer of this dark black, which hopefully, when I intermix it with the blue, will give us a really cool effect. So as you can see, that is just a thin black layer at the minute. And don't worry, we're not done. It looks really uneven at this point. Oh dear. So now let's intermix some of this blue, give us a slightly different effect. And this is where it should come alive, hopefully. I don't want to waste any, but I don't want it all to be blue. I want this blue and this black intermixed. So we've got that full 20 ml of resin now. And this is just the background, guys. So some of you probably think I'm absolutely crazy at the minute, and so do I. And now I'm just going to take my tool and create some beautiful swirls in between the black and the blue. And hopefully it's going to settle in a really cool design. And this, as I say, it's just that back layer. Not too fussed about it looking even at this point, as long as I'm confident that the black and the blue are intermixed to give us that base layer. There we go. And I'm pretty happy with that for a background. Hope you'll agree, it looks pretty cool. Always wipe your stick as always. And that's just going to be our base layer. And then I'm going to come back, get rid of any bubbles, in about, what time are we on? So we're on 12 o'clock now, in about half an hour. And I'm going to try and put some of these lighter images in half an hour, once this resin's had a little bit of a chance to set. And I've still got some resin in this pot, so I don't want to waste it. So I might as well put it in there. And this is probably going to be the thickest layer, guys, the base. We're going to go thinner after this. So here we go. And hopefully, again, just swirling it round. No particular pattern, as you can see. But I just want to intermix the black and the blue to give us a kind of effect already. Here we go. And this is just random swirls at this point. I'm not looking for a pattern. I just want to spread the resin evenly across so we've got that bluey black background. Now, this isn't going to look exactly like Van Gogh, which is okay, guys. If I was Van Gogh, I'd be making a lot more money. So I'm going to leave this for half an hour. We're going to come back and I'm going to try and put some of those lighter colours in. So I'll see you guys in 30 minutes. See you later. So here it's actually, so I'm hoping I've not left it too late. Get yourself a coffee. And now I'm going to mix up some colours, and I've just mixed up some standard Apex high gloss resin in these pots and separated them. And I'm looking at the colours, and I know I'm going to need a yellowy orange. I know I'm going to need white, and I know I'm going to need blue. So I'm going to use some white pigment paste. Again, just a tiny bit on the end of my stick for one of them. And this hasn't sat. This is just freshly mixed resin that I've got at the side. And I'm trying to get these colours as close as I can. I've got some blue for some ultramarine as well. Most of the colours I'm using are actually from Creating Bloom as well. And I've got some yellow orange for the honeycomb. Look at that. Now, I'm going to do two of these. And the reason why is I'm going to want one to be a lighter colour than the other. So there's that one. Lighter colour, so I want white and some of that honeycomb in one of these. And I think we should be good then. In fact, I'm going to use 2 lots of this white. So again, a little bit of white in this one, and then a little bit of honeycomb. So that is going to be my lighter yellow colour. And then the darker one will be in there as well. And don't be afraid to mix your colours up, guys. And then this one is going to be a lighter blue. So I want some white. Sorry if you can hear a printer in the background, but I'm printing out some frog eyes boxes. If you've not seen those, check out my website, ccukresin.com, and get yourself a frog eyes box. So here we go. These are just the colours that I'm mixing up. And this is going to take me a while. So what I'm going to do is not talk, which is strange for me. And I'm going to fast forward past this process because this is probably going to take the longest. Let's get some blue in there with that white. Let's mix up these colours. Then I'm going to put my earpods in and we're going to just go for it. So this is the white. Beautiful. And I want it quite pigmented. I'm just hoping this resin hasn't fully cured yet. So there we go. There's that white. Here's the blue. which again is a different shade to what we've already used. And my phone is going off at the minute. This is that honeycomb, which is a beautiful yellow. And I'm going to end up using a toothpick, I think, for this to get that fine detail in. This is the blue and the white. So hopefully it should give us a lighter colour than what we've already got. And I might add a bit more white to that. It's a little bit lighter already, but not as light as I want it. So if you're not happy with your colour, carry on mixing till you are. And I'm probably going to get the same with this honeycomb. It is slightly lighter, but I want it almost whiter. So for both of those, I'm going to add another blob of white, and that should give us another colour. These ones, just because I want them to be a little bit lighter. And then these are going to be the only colours that I'm going to use in this. And I'm just hoping it works, guys, because as I say, you don't know at this point. Let's add another dollop of white to the honeycomb, and then another dollop of white to that blue. And then I'm going to try and recreate this as close as I can. Now, I'm not Van Gogh. I don't claim to be Van Gogh. He's a great artist, and I'm just a crazy resin guy on YouTube. So here we go. Let's add this white. And this is really making it a lot lighter now. Look at this. And I'm not bothered if it stays slightly different shades. As long as the bulk of it is lighter, which that is, I'm happy with that compared to that. And then this is the blue. And this should really lighten it up now, I think. It's a really deep, dark blue, which is great. Look at that. Completely different shade now to that one. And that's what I want. So this is going to be a bit of a pain, if I'm being honest. So I've got some toothpicks. I'm going to put my earpods in and just enjoy the process. And I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's not. I don't know if I've left the resin too long. But I do know I've only got about 20 minutes now to get this design in the way I want it. And this isn't going to be Van Gogh. This is going to be Andy. So here we go. I'm just going to put some tunes on because I think I'm going to be doing this for a while. And I'm going to keep the reference image in front of me as well, which is that. And let's see where we go. So wish me luck, guys. The first drop. So here we go, guys. It's the next day and this is cured beautifully. But I want to put a few more details in now, just because I think that's cool, but it's not quite the effect I'm looking for. So I've got some acrylic markers. These are the Let's Resin ones. And I'm just going to add in a few more details and see if we can make it look a little bit more like the Van Gogh original. So we will see. So I'm just going to start drawing the bits that I want to emphasize onto this piece and make sure that I'm happy with them, just to get a bit of a layer on these pieces here. And obviously we want the moon or the crescent coming in. And this doesn't have to be perfect, guys. It is your interpretation. So just have fun with it, is what I would say. But I do want the crescent in there to sort of stand out. And it is more of an orangey colour. Now these dry pretty quickly as well, so I am going to be playing around with them a little bit, and you can layer them. Now they don't blend, but they do layer pretty well. I'm just going around some of these edges with this yellow. Doesn't stand out that much, but I think it's just going to give it a little bit more definition. And I've got a few different yellows, so I'm going to try a few different ones as well. And then just hopefully get this looking a bit more like the original, even though we've got that beautiful resin background in there as well. And I think that's looking a bit better already. Now again, this is my interpretation of it, so I want that first layer of the orange now should have gone a bit lighter. So we can add a little bit more depth to it just by going over it with another colour, which is slightly lighter. And I think that is now pretty much looking the way I want that. So you can just see where I've highlighted that now. We've got that depth in there. We've still got the resin in the background. And obviously this is still going to have another coat. So let's do the same with the stars. I just want to create that feel of Van Gogh, which for me, it's all about these little tiny lines that create the whole image. And we've still got obviously that resin behind, which is creating the main image. But I think this is just going to add depth to the piece and hopefully just make it a little bit more Van Gogh-like. And you can see I'm just going around in a circular pattern. I don't want it too patterned though, because I think part of the beauty for me of Van Gogh's work is it doesn't look too patterned and too in order. It's like a chaotic mess. And apologies, my phone is busy this morning. Popular. And you can just see, just with those couple of layers now, it's already coming, I don't know, together. It's looking really cool. So again, we've got some stars. I'm going to have a little star here as well, which I actually didn't have on the original. Here. This is where that big black castle is going to go. So I want a few lines just going through here into this bit as well of this yellow. But again, as you can see, I'm just being very sporadic with my lines. And this doesn't have to be perfect. It is just my version of Van Gogh's Starry Night. And it's these lines for me that really make it a Van Gogh style piece. And don't worry, we're not done yet, but you can just see there. Look at those now, those stars. Really cool how it makes it pop. My phone really is going pink today. So apologies for that, guys. Now I've got this sky blue as well, and I'm going to start just gently putting some of these swirls in and just going over them ever so lightly with this marker pen or this acrylic pen. And again, the idea here is I'm going to be building up layers of these different colours just to really emphasize these beautiful swirls. And there's no particular order. It's just playing, having fun. And there is going to be more resin going into this, guys, so don't worry about that. But it is quite relaxing as well. Just having fun with it, creating these lines. And then I've got a couple I want going through here as well, just towards the base. So there's that. And I want a couple just randomly around these stars as well. Loving that. And at the minute, I'm just focused really on the sky. Now I've got this darker blue as well. And I'm going to get hopefully some bigger lines just going along here into these edges as well. And it's this build-up of these little lines with the resin in the background that I'm hoping is going to just sort of make this look even more like a Vincent van Gogh piece. And it doesn't have to be perfect. This is just your interpretation of it, remember. So don't try and get it exactly like a Van Gogh. Well, you can if you want. Good luck if that's what you're going to do. I just want this to be my interpretation of this beautiful Starry Night from Van Gogh. And you can see now this is really adding some depth just where I'm putting those different colours into this piece. And again, it's no particular order. It's just about having fun and creating your own little version that has been inspired by a masterpiece. And I couldn't afford a Van Gogh, but I could create something in that style that I quite like, hopefully. So I'm pretty happy. Now here, I want some darker lines as well, just coming up to there. And it is quite random at this point. Now, again, this is my interpretation. So I'm going to have a few more colours in this. And I'm going to have some gold. And I have, instead of white, I've got some silver. And I want some silver going through this. And those of you that like the original will be crying at me right now saying you can't have silver because there isn't any silver in the original piece. I'm going to say, yes, I can, because it's my piece. This isn't Vincent's piece. This is my version, which has been slightly inspired by him. And I want a little bit of silver going through the piece. Not too much, but just a little bit going through. And as you can see, I'm just building up those layers, same as I've done with the other colours. And I think so far it's looking really cool. And I'm trying to be pretty random as I'm doing this. I don't want to cover up all of the previous layers either. And I might even come back with a few more. Now for the yellow, I've got some gold. So I'm just going to have a little bit of gold going through these stars and the sun as well, hopefully helping build up those layers. And again, just going around in that design. Now I'm going to go back over this again with the yellow, I think. But as I say, it's your art. Do it your way. Don't let anybody else tell you any otherwise. Just have fun with it. And I'm just building up these layers until I'm pretty happy with it. So now the gold has kind of I like the gold, but it has kind of taken away from the yellow that I put in. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to add some of this yellow back in just to brighten it up. But that way the gold still stays in the background. And there's no right or wrong here, guys. It is just art. And it's called having fun. Hopefully we're going to have something beautiful at the end. And I'm just building up these layers until I'm happy with the colours. The key is here, I don't want anything to look too perfect either. I think that's where it could go wrong, is if it looks too perfect and I'm trying to do the original, which I'm not. The one piece that I do want in here though, I think, is the church, which is going to add more complexity. There is a little church in there, which I do want to get in. And I'm just looking at the original. There's also some little houses. We go a bit further ahead. And I do want this little spiral here for the church. And we'll have that outlined in a minute as well. And then there's almost a little rooftop here as well, which to me really stands out in the picture. So I'm going to have those in. And that is all I think I'm going to have in. And then I'm just looking at the original for a bit of guidance on this little church here. And I want a couple of little lights just in there. And as I say, it's just having fun with it. And I'm pretty happy with that. Now over here in his photo, as I say, he's not got a perfectly pictured village scene, but he has got just some different colours in the painting, which kind of make it look a little bit like a full village there. But you can really only see, for me, the standout piece is this church here. So I'm pretty happy with that. I just want a few more lighter shades going through the piece as well of this blue. And then I think we'll be ready for the next layer of resin. Or do I just draw it in and fill it up? I might just do that. Right, now we've got to think about this big tower that goes through the whole piece. And I was going to just put another layer on first, but I don't think I'm going to, because I don't think I need to. So I'm just going to see if I've got a black acrylic marker so that I can use that to add in that spirally, I think it's a castle it's meant to be. And I'm going to use two different colours, if I can find them. Here we go. So I've got the black, which to me really stands out. Then I've got a slightly lighter grey. And I've got another yellow there. Let's add another of this yellow as well, just into these pieces. Why not? Add a bit more colour, a bit more texture. I've got them, so why not? For me, it's this combination of different colours and layers that I think will make it look a little bit more real, hopefully, when all is said and done. But no, I'm pretty happy with that. It's not the original, he says, and then he wants to put another line in. So I just want to go over where I've got too much gold for me. Is this working? It is. So there's a little bit too much gold, I think, in these pieces. So I'm just going to go around it again with this acrylic marker, just over some of the heavier golder bits. So the yellow still stands out as another layer. Vincent, if you're watching from up there, I hope you don't mind me getting inspired by your work. There we go. I'm pretty happy. I think we're about there for the yellow at least. Now, as I say, I'm going to try and replicate almost that black tower that we've got in the feature piece. So for me, it wants to start, I don't know, about here, I think. It does go all the way up. Now, as I say, this is my interpretation of it. It's going to go slightly off. Now I'm just going to go over the whole thing again, just to give us a really deep, dark background. There we go. That looks pretty cool, I think. And it's not perfect, but nearly. Very seldomly is, I find. There we go. So I'm happy with that. Now I just want to get a couple of different shades in there. So I've got this, I think it's meant to be charcoal. And I think that will be cool to just give us a couple of different shades. And then I want a couple of little flicks of yellow in it. I think I'm pretty happy with that. In fact, what I'm going to do is, just whilst I've got it out, Put a couple of lines back over here. And the only bit I don't like really is this bit here, but I'm going to have a star here. Why not add one in just at the bottom? But let me know what you're thinking. I quite like that. Now, it's not the original. The swirls aren't as good, but I can definitely see a bit of Van Gogh in there. So I'm going to fill this with resin now. I'm going to pour that in. And what I'm actually going to do is mix enough to completely cover this piece. So I think that's probably going to be about 4 ounces in there. And then I want enough to go over this frame as well. And I think I'm going to be using the Cure Pro here. So I'm going to have to think about how much resin to use. I think I'm going to need at least 6 ounces because I'm going to be covering all those edges as well. Then hopefully we'll see this wood grain pop at the same time, as well as filling in that picture.
So guys, and I'm going to be using the Cure Pro resin from Apex for this just because it comes out with a beautiful shine. So I've taped the back and then I'm just going to mix up 6 ounces of Cure Pro. And the great thing is with the Cure Pro, as well as the amazing shine, is you can put it through your debubbler so it debubbles beautifully. So make sure your surface is level. I'm just going to mix up the resin, pour it in, massage the wood as always, cover the whole thing in the Cure Pro. Then we're going to come back and see what we've got. Hopefully, we'll have a beautiful piece of art for this Van Gogh collaboration. And don't forget, watch all of those videos. If you want any Apex resin, obviously get over to Apex Resin as well. Use my discount code CCUK and get money off. So let's go for it.
And here we go, guys, the final piece, and it is absolutely beautiful. That shine from the Cure Pro. I think I'm in love with this piece. I think it was a good piece of inspired art by Van Gogh with the Starry Night. And as you can see, I absolutely love the way it came out. Excuse the reflection, but it's just so shiny. Let me know what you think in comments. Make sure you watch all of the videos in the collaboration. Keep crafting. And remember, do me a favor, like and subscribe to the channel if you liked this video. And why not consider joining membership? And check out the website, ccukresin.com. Keep crafting, keep supporting each other. And wow, I just can't stop looking at this, guys. It's not perfect, but it's definitely a cool piece. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you all on the next video. Everybody's Starry Night. See you soon.